when I was planning the topic for today, I was thinking of what can I tell young students and what input can I give you on empathy. And I thought sharing you basically a life lesson that I learned and something that I think I would like to have heard it myself when I was your age. I want you to imagine something quite simple, quite frequent that happens in your life. Imagine you're arguing with a friend, right? Imagine you're discussing something, maybe it's a group project. Imagine you're talking about something someone said, and in that moment you are sure you're right. You're completely sure that you are right in your point, and the other person, they simply don't get it. They don't understand the point. Maybe they're being unfair, maybe they're being irrational, maybe they're simply the villain in this story. And it's rather a familiar feeling, right? When you're discussing with someone, you do think you're right. And it feels empowering, right? So that your conviction, your perspective is the only valid one. The point is, normally there's more to this, right? And this is one of the points that I learned in life, and I think it's important also to pass on to you. No one is the villain in their own story. It's easy to think that other people, when you're arguing on some project, that they're being stubborn, maybe a bit malicious, but normally that's not the point. Normally people are not the villain in their own story, and people just have different perspectives in life. They have different experiences, different cultures, and normally, in most times, they just have different life experiences that gives them a different perspective. And I wanted to give you a story, a personal story that taught me about this. So currently I work in a law firm, so I do a bit of the boring work. I sit in an office, I review contracts, all of that. But before that, I represented law students all over Europe. 60,000 people, 43 countries, and this happened more or less during COVID times. So when it was everything remote, we were stuck at home, and we had to plan an event. We had to plan our General Assembly, where we gather the representatives of each country for a week in a single city, and we had to take care of all the logistics. So where do people sleep? What do they eat? Where do we party? All those things. And we were just 8 people. We were only 8 people in a board, and we had to make this decision. And what was the problem with that? We are 8 people, 8 different opinions. So we had a conflict in our hands because we had to decide together, what are we going to do? Are we going to do it in person? After it was still the end of COVID, people were still afraid for sanitary reasons, or do we do it online? Do we keep it as it is and keep it online? So yeah. So we had the same problem, completely different reactions. Some people were more social. They wanted to meet their friends. They wanted to feel the connection, to feel the energy. They wanted to feel alive again. Others were more risk-averse, right? So especially people that were in other associations and other projects in life, they felt, well, we're organizing a big thing. We can't afford this risk. This is a big financial burden. We are a bit afraid of how this is going to go. And also, this was an international environment, so we were 8 people from 8 different countries, Portugal, Spain, Romania, Azerbaijan, everywhere. And so, given their culture, given the way we were taught, the way our education went, some were more structured, follow the rules, follow the procedures. Others, a bit maybe us, Portuguese, I don't know if this is everyone's input, we were a bit more relaxed, let's go with it, let's see how this goes. So we also had not just different opinions, different cultures, and different reactions. And what made this all difficult was each one of us thought we were right. Each one of us thought we had the correct answer, and that's the answer we should have gone with. And so we were stuck. we had to decide, what do we do, how do we go forward? We couldn't agree. And so the big change was precisely this, to stop looking at an opinion at face value, and start looking at the interest. What lies behind that person's stance? Maybe they're afraid of risk for some financial problem that they had in the past. Maybe they maybe they feel alone because it was COVID and we were all secluded in our places. So this idea of again, walking in someone's shoes, understanding their past, their experience, their interests, does help a lot, moving from judging someone as being irrational or incoherent or just not getting it, to actually understanding and growing together, and sharing experiences with each other. Because again, the point is, most of the time there is not a right answer. There are simply different ways of doing the same thing. And when you start asking these questions to try and understand where do they come from, where do people come from, why do they engage in a certain way, why do they have a certain preference, you stop seeing a problem and you really start seeing the person behind and their life, and you start understanding their motivation, their fears. And at that point, you're not just focusing on being right, on fighting a label. You're trying to reach a common understanding and collaboration. And we did this. We understood the points, the motivations of each one. We ended up organizing the event in physical format in Italy. But we didn't do it blindly, right? So we took in consideration the financial fears of some people. We also took the more optimistic ones to help us organize it, and we ended up organizing it. No financial loss. We did all get COVID because it was the end of COVID, so we still had